Every image that goes into a website on a web page should be optimized. What optimization does is reduce the file size down as low as you can while still making the image look as good as it can. A web page has size limitations as to how large the page size is. Otherwise, the user won't wait to download the exact page that they're looking at. So you want to get your images as small as possible in terms of file size, but you also want to make sure that they maintain as much quality as they can within your website. That is the process of optimization. What we're going to take a look at is how to optimize an image. I have this picture of a nudibranch. This is actually a very small, he's about 1.5 inches long, little sea creature. And this particular one was really pretty, clinging to the rocks. So we're going to take this image, and right now this is a 1 meg file. So I want to reduce this file size down as small as I can get it. So how do we optimize in Photoshop? I'm going to go over to File and go down to Save for Web and Devices. When I do that, I have some tabs up across the top. And this first tab is what my original image looks like. The second one is if it's optimized based on the setting I had chosen. And I have some settings in here preset. So I usually don't pay too much attention to these first tabs because we can see these in both of these last two tabs as well. 2 up gives me the original at the top and the image format I want to play with at the bottom. I tend to go straight to 4 up in Photoshop because it gives me 3 different images to play with at the same time. So I'll put my main focus of my image in the window. Now, how do I choose formats and settings? All of the settings are in this right column. And it looks very complicated, but it's really not. If you focus on the items in the top area within this interface. First of all, we can use this drop down here to choose if we want a GIF, a JPEG, or one of 2 formats for PNG images. And I'm going to set this to a GIF first. Now within a GIF, you can see I have 128 colors listed here, and it's 188K in file size. This lower one has 128 colors listed, but this one is 149K, so it's a little bit smaller than the one in the top window. This one is using 100% dither. This one is using 0%. So let me start by clicking this top window. You select a window and it gets this little border so you know which window you're working in. So what I'm going to do is choose settings for this window. First of all, I have a GIF selected. Just to the right of that, I can choose some presets for the number of colors. And a standard GIF has 256 colors. You can see my image looks much better in the top window than the lower window, but it's also much bigger in file size. Now this one has 100% dither, which is right below that. I'll drop that down and let's see how it changes the image. Well, my image still has that rich color, but now it's 189K. Now, if I start dropping color, you can see this image doesn't look very good. So personally, I would say this image really needs to be a JPEG image. The quality just isn't there if it's a GIF. So I'll switch over to JPEG. Now, JPEGs are a little bit simpler to figure out. You have quality settings. So this one is 100% quality, which is 294K. Way too large. So we need to drop it down. So how do I drop it down? I'll click on maximum, which is what it's at now, and watch when I choose these how the quality number goes down. So I go to very high. Well, what that's doing is giving me 80% quality. So it's dropping out 20% of the information within each pixel in the image, and you can see my file size dropped. That image looks very nice, much better than these GIFs down below. Let me click on the lower right window and choose this one. What I'm going to do is see how low I can get this quality for a JPEG with the image still looking nice. So I'll choose JPEG for this window, but this time, instead of very high, I'll choose high. So this is now 60% quality. This is 80%. Look at the difference in file size, 86K versus 141. Now let's try, since we have 80 here, 60 here, let's try 40% in this window. So I'll switch it to a JPEG, drop it down to medium. Now medium, by default, is giving me a 30% quality, not a 40%. And I'm really beginning to see a loss in quality here. So instead of using this preset quality, I'll just type in 40 over here. I now have 40 quality. So the idea behind this is you compare the file sizes in each one of these windows, and you can play with the settings to try and get your image as low as possible while it still looks fine. And this is a good example of how a JPEG image looks much better for this particular photo than a GIF. And every image is slightly different. I always test both a GIF and a JPEG format. I tend not to use a ping on the web. I tend to find they run a little bit higher in file size than a GIF or JPEG. And there are multiple types of pings. And some of those are based on whether you're using transparency or not. So I tend to stick with the GIF or JPEG to make it simpler. It almost always ends up smaller anyway. So I could go through and weigh the file size and loss of quality with how the image ends up looking. Once I'm done, let's say I've decided to keep this 60% quality, I click Save. Notice Photoshop automatically gives it the JPEG format, and it's also going to automatically maintain my settings of 60% quality when it saves out my image. So that is how you optimize an image in Photoshop.